Today's guest is someone I've really been looking forward to sitting down with because her work speaks directly to high achieving humans who want to feel well while living full and oftentimes demanding lives. She is the founder of Superwell Living and CEO of Well Inspired Travels and has spent over a decade working with professional athletes, executives, and global clients, helping them move from burnout into a more aligned, sustainable way of living. She is the creator of the Superwell Living Method, an 8-pillar approach to mind, body, spirit wellness, and the #1 best-selling international author of Superwell, your ultimate blueprint to wellness and well-being. Her work is rooted in experience, not trends, and centers on wellness as a lifestyle rather than a quick fix. In this episode, we talk about burnout, nervous system regulation, performance, and what it really takes to feel well while doing meaningful work in the world. Please welcome the lovely Lauren Pronger.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And it's just lovely to be here with you. I know this has been a long time coming, and I'm just grateful for the time with you. And thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Well, I finally received this masterpiece in the mail. So exciting. I've been diving in like nonstop, Lauren, and I've been in this space since I was a teenager, as I mentioned to you before. This is so, not to be cheesy, super well done. Like literally, I love every bit of it. And I have
mic drop.
I have my bookmarks in here and everything. So we're definitely going to touch on a lot of the stuff I want to have you share and expand on. But I do want to start off with part of your story. So I understand all too well on how some of life's most devastating, challenging moments often become the very catalyst for profound change. And in your story, you share so honestly how that truth unfolded for you in the fall of 2011, and everything seemed to collapse all at once. Your husband, Chris, who is a former NHL defenseman, Hall of Famer, Stanley Cup champion, suffered a career-ending concussion that left him bedridden. While at the same time, your father had a stroke, your mother is diagnosed with breast cancer, and yet from all of that unimaginable season, you didn't break, you rebuilt. So could you just take us back to that moment and walk us through how you began to bounce back, especially when so many people would have given up?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for kind of laying the foundation there, because as we all know, some of the hardest times in our lives, adversity and things that you think will break you and take you down actually are meant to be in a gift in a sense. And at that time, clearly, I did not think that at all. I thought I was forever, this was the new norm. And kind of going back to that space, growing up, was always very interested in health and wellness. My family had dealt with some pretty significant health issues, and just what I witnessed as a child was probably the reason for my interest and curiosity, because whether you say it's protective, body armor you put on, or post-traumatic stress of witnessing a lot of issues within the household, I was very curious about the human body. I would always check out books when I was in grade school on how the human body works. I loved the game Operation. I was always very intrigued by the organs and everything. And I think that was preventative of how do I safeguard myself? And we all have, family members that go through significant challenges in that space, but I always really knew how to be optimal and well up until 2011, because I had been, self-studying through my whole life. My mom always joked and said, God, I should have gone to medical school. I missed my calling, I guess. But, at that time, as much as I knew, I was doing all the wrong things. So here I am, my husband, he's down and out and he's bedridden. My dad, had a stroke. My mom was diagnosed shortly after that with breast cancer, like you said. 3 little kids. And as a mother, wife, and daughter, I was no good to anybody. And I did that to myself because I was getting up first thing in the morning. I was loading up on tons of caffeine on an empty stomach, no nourishing nutrition. I my form of movement was running. I put my daughter in the running stroller and I would just get those adrenals taxed. My cortisol was bumping, doing all the wrong forms of movement for my body, which should have been restorative. I had no form of a breath work or a form of meditation in place. Again, not fueling my body with the proper nutrition. I would pick up my kids' grilled cheese crust and just carry on with the rest of the day, trying to attend to my husband and the kids and all the things. And then the night would come and I would have a glass or two of wine just to kind of take things down a few notches. And then I'd try to lay my head on the pillow at night and forget it. You're not going to sleep. And so that really was what set everything on fire for me. And you want to talk about absolute burnout? You do that hamster wheel for 3 months and you're done for.
Mm.
And as I said, I was no good for any of my loved ones. I had 3 children I had to care for. So I had to figure out really fast how to rebuild myself. And as you said, habit by habit, brick by brick, slow and steady. The choice that I made was I got myself here and I'm going to get myself out on my own terms. I had seen several doctors, ran a bunch of blood tests. The proof was in the pudding, and there was no lying in the results. My thyroid had completely kaput. I had my cortisol was rocket high, the tired and wired. I mean, perfect case for complete burnout. My circadian rhythm was completely upside down. And so the options were, okay, here's a sleep aid, here's an anti-anxiety, here's an antidepressant, here's Synthroid. And I said, I appreciate this, but I'm going to do the best I can to get myself out. I got myself here. I really went back to school because knowledge is power. So that's when I started with Institute of Integrative Nutrition, their flagship program, and went on to really achieve 10 different certifications in all areas of health and wellness over a span of probably 15 years. And I really look at it and I speak about it in the book of I built my holistic tool belt. That was my saving grace. That was my burnout insurance because I never wanted to go back to that place ever again. How do you do that? And that's where this mission and this passion comes from is I now want to share when I was rock bottom and thought I was never going to pull up and out of this, that was the new norm for me. And I said, this is my gift to the world. This is the legacy I want to leave. I want to share. Here are the steps and the science-backed knowledge that I gained on how I rebuilt myself because this world we live in, as we were talking about, is 24/7 cortisol drip. We better figure out tools and very simplistic tools that are free, accessible to us at any point in time. When I say holistic tool belt, I've got breath work. That's a massive weapon. I've got meditation. I like literally grab all these tools, contrast therapy. I've got all these things that I have in place. That is the fastest route to calming your central nervous system, getting yourself into that parasympathetic nervous system to dominate life. So I know I shared a lot there with you, but I just light up and I love sharing it because it's all about, there's so much noise in this wellness space. It's actually, let's go back to some basics, some simple methods and practices to safeguard our burnout.
Mm, all of it. I love this so much. And I can feel your passion and energy through the camera. Like
Ah!
every bit of this is so good because one, can I just honor you first and foremost for just taking full ownership for all the things because so many people want to blame external circumstances for why they're where they're at nowadays, right? I mean, you could go on and on and on, and that's just straight up victimhood. And so
Yeah.
you said, nope, I'm not going to become a victim. I am going to take full radical ownership and responsibility of my next chapter and season. And this is what it's going to look like. I'm getting crystal clear and I'm showing up with conviction. Like
Yes.
I feel you. That's exactly what you did. And that's what it takes is it needs to be commanded into our lives. This is how this is going to look. And you did just that.
Yeah. Yeah, and exactly. I mean, that's what we were talking about earlier with my hat. The reason, for this, the symbolism is very intentional about be a captain, be a driver, get in the driver's seat of your own wellness journey. Don't be a passive passenger, just letting somebody else make choices for you or not educating yourself with whatever form of, and if you want to go back to school, if you want to go check out a book, if you want to listen to podcasts, whatever that looks like to you, start getting the knowledge to be the driver, going into your doctor's office and saying, you know what? No, I don't need to take that pill for the fast route. I actually think I could learn a practice of basic breath work to calm my central nervous system, whatever it is. And so that's, kind of the whole reasoning behind that. But it's just about being in control and don't place, blame on this or that. And I remember clear as day, when my mom was so sick and dealing with breast cancer and had a double mastectomy, and I was so broken and I was in tears and I thought, oh my gosh, this is the new norm for me. And I guess I'm never going to sleep good. And I guess I'm always going to be anxious and depressed. And my skin was a mess and my hair was falling out and I had all this belly fat, all the things that had happened to me through this burnout stage. And my mom looked at me and she said, Lauren, I promise you, you are going to learn something. It's going to be a gift for you at some point in time. And that truly is what this is. And that's just what I continued to build was, like I said, this book and this mission is about protecting anybody and everybody that either has been in burnout or is approaching it or trying to prevent it. Because every day I'm up against that. I know you're up against that of we creep back to that place if we don't practice these habits that are intentional, time efficient. I mean, if I get away from my 2 times a day of meditation, I'm a different person the next day. If I don't get 8 hours of sleep, I'm a different person. If I don't fuel my body with nourishing nutrition, all of those things, lead up to feeling your super well best. And I always say super well-ish. Every morning, my mantra is, I am the well, striving, and I emphasize the word striving, to be super well. Why the heck not? And I'm here to be a guide for others to do the same. It's like Nike,
Mm.
just do it. So simplistic. It says, I don't want to just be okay or well. I want to be super well. Why the heck not? Like every morning. And shouldn't we all strive? That's the deal. And I don't have it all figured out. I say I'm your super well-ish BFF. And
Mm.
every morning, that's my mission. And that's, kind of what I share in this book. This is a lifestyle. It's not a pill, it's not a diet, it's not a nutritional plan. This is a 360 all from AM till PM, things that you can practice, and you don't have to do it all. Like that's the thing. I don't want this to be overwhelming for individuals. For crying out loud, I created this method and I don't practice, all 40 habits in one day, but I do the best I can and I lean into places that maybe that day I need more sleep or I need more mindfulness. Because this is all built around 8 pillars, and I'm
Mhm.
sure we'll get into those specific 8 pillars, but it's about really figuring out what you need to, feel your best that day and kind of look into those methods and practices that I have.
Thank you. All of this is so important. I hope everyone's really listening because this is the biggest takeaway. Everyone tries to duplicate the morning routine, right? Like this is what so and so does, so I'm just going to do X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
Model and modify. Like that's what I love about books like what you just wrote
Yeah.
so well. For instance, on page 136, this is what I love. The Superwell way to 80/20 living. Why don't we speak more on that? Because if we can really understand the 80/20 principle, which is one of the foundations of Superwell living,
Mhm.
then how much more sustainable could this really be for everyone involved? Then I think you're now signing up for a true lifestyle change and not a
Mhm.
quick fix. So I would love to have you speak more on that specifically because I think that's really important to um, sink in for those that really want to, take that shift and move
Yeah.
into a more positive direction.
Yeah. No, I love it. And thank you for bringing up the 80/20 because that was very intentional. It's the motto that I live by in my life. I always have because I want to give myself that grace and I want to enjoy the 20% in life. Life is short. When you're on a beautiful vacation and you want to have, some tequila, by all means, have some clean tequila, whatever your vice is, but allowing yourself the, consistent discipline 80% when you can really lock in
Hmm.
And then also giving yourself those moments and those times, because that's realistic. As you said, it's setting yourself up for success and actually adopting this lifestyle. So yes, going back to the 80/20, it needs to be set for sustainability of this method. It needs to be something that people can feel they can achieve this without giving up or, oh gosh, you know what? I didn't hit that checklist. I already failed. So I'm just going to quit. No, this is about me relating to women, as wives, mothers, running businesses, and what is feasible for individuals. And as I said, this is a very noisy wellness space. And so if you are confused by all of it out there, that's what this is. This is about getting back to basics and following, from morning till night, things that resonate with you that you need help with and leaning into that. But also, like I said, enjoying the fact that along the way, you can indulge in some dark chocolate or, tequila or whatever it is. And really finding that balance in life. And that's, a lot that I share in here is the science-backed knowledge that I get really granular and nerdy because to me, what I have learned with my clients and in my community is nobody is going to take action on any pillar, any habit, anything if they don't know why. And if
Right.
they don't feel that that actually makes a difference. And I had this book originally was 350 pages. I had to take out 100 pages. So I really had to niche down on what moves the needle. But it's about, setting yourself up for morning gut success, taking care of your gut health. Why do you need to do that? The gut brain, connection is so powerful. 90% of our serotonin lives there. That's our feel good, happy hormone. 75% of our immune system lives there. Like all of
Hmm.
those things, you have got to keep your gut so optimal and healthy. And, that's why I have that morning gut elixir. And, when I talk about glucose, I wear a CGM. I've been part of a beta testing with a company for 3 years. And you don't have to have a CGM to understand some of these principles because I've done it for you. I've been your guinea pig. I've hacked the heck out of it. I'm telling you that if you move your body after you eat, or if you eat in a certain food order, or if you learn how to control some of your stress management, because that all sets off your glucose. So there's so many things that I've shared in this book because I've been, the Superwell BFF, going through all this and trying to simplify it. And, yes, every morning, I get my feet in the ground, even when there's snow outside, and I always look to the sun. And all of these practices are very time efficient. I call them Superwell stacks
Hmm.
because we're all busy individuals.
What would you say would be one action that someone could take right now if they're finding themselves stuck? Like they're stuck in a rut. And
Mhm.
this could be like, let's be honest, oftentimes even high achievers get stuck. I
Yes.
mean, I see it all the time with former professional athletes
Yeah.
or those that are always striving for the next, but even find themselves maybe in a rut. What's
Yeah.
the quickest way out of that? And what would you have someone do that says, you know what, I'm so stuck right now. Please help me.
Yeah. I would say, in terms of like approaching burnout or stuck in just life because they're overwhelmed, if that's kind of the stick point, I guess. I always talk about I do a lot of different events and I give the analogy. It's such a visual person. You'll see in the book, there's so many photos, but I talk about the three-legged chair. And here I am sitting on the chair, and I got my biomat here too. If you can see, my
I
biomat's
just
on right now. Yes. But four legs, very stable. So that would be nourishing nutrition, optimal sleep, mindfulness, and balance flow, which is movement. To me, those are four very strong pillars, legs of the chair. So if you take out one and you're like, okay, well, I have to remove one, maybe we take out mindfulness. That's the breath work and the meditation. Okay, well, you've got nourishing nutrition, optimal sleep, and movement.
Mhm.
That's great. Okay. Well, if you take out one more, now you're in two chairs, you're two legs, you're going to fall down for sure. You're going to come crashing down. And you know what that one is? That's optimal sleep. That to me, when I look back at my burnout and I look back at moments where I've crept back close to burnout, it's always been about the sleep. If
Mm.
there is one
Mhm.
thing that I can encourage individuals and anybody listening here, dial in your sleep. Get those 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep as best you can. Form a optimal sleep Zen routine. I share mine in the book, and it's my gift to everybody here too. And it is, I put strict boundaries around it. My family knows that, and I know not everybody has the time to do this, but find a way to, when you get your family taken care of or what have you, that you can sneak away and have this routine. Number one, no blue light, no technology after a
Mm.
certain time. I'm sorry, that email, that text message, everything can wait until the next day. Create strict boundaries, follow them. And, getting out in nature, maybe some movement after meals and setting your eyes to the sun. And then for me, I come in the bedroom, I dim the lights. I've got a red light next bulb next to my bed. So I've got the right lighting going on. I get my castor oil pack going on. I've got my vagus nerve oil. I've got a vagus nerve device called a neuropod. Really helps tap into that parasympathetic nervous system.
Mm.
If you get your vagus nerve on board, that is your pathway, your highway to your parasympathetic nervous system. We are all living in our sympathetic nervous system, as I talked about, 24/7. And it's because society has put us here. How are we going to be drivers and take it by control and figure out, okay, I got a gear shift to my parasympathetic nervous system so that I can get a solid night's sleep with deep REM sleep, really good, solid sleep, not light sleep. So castor oil pack, got the vagus nerve, like all that activating. I lay on an acupressure mat, which is a bed of nails. It's like having an acupuncturist right there in your bedroom. It's about $25 on Amazon. I do
Mm.
my legs up the wall, get the lymphatic drainage going. Really helps to lower the cortisol while I have a red light therapy mask on. So I'm getting the skin glow on at the same time. And I practice my breath work or my TM at that time. That takes me maybe 20 minutes. And honestly, Chrissy, you want to talk about setting yourself up for success with optimal sleep. And already, like the next day, as you were saying about stuck, the next day, I'm going to be making better choices because my cognitive function is firing. I'm going to be making better choices in terms of nourishing nutrition. I'm not going to be craving sweet, salty food. I am going to have energy to lift and work out and be prepared for whatever the day throws at me, any curveballs. So to me, it's like, get, think about that chair and think about, I am going to guard my optimal sleep like my life depends on it.
Mm.
And as soon as I feel my sleep start to slip, that's when I tell my family, I tell anybody that knows me, I said, okay, it's time. Like I have got to regroup here and get that, recenter that. And then from there, I'm like, the rest of the world, throw it at me because I'll be ready the next day.
Super, super intentional. I
Yes.
mean, I love this so much. And I love that you just mapped it out after you explained everything so perfectly and easily that it's really not hard to do. It's
Mhm.
20 minutes. Think
Yes.
of people laying in their beds or on their couch before they go to sleep, just scrolling social
Doom
media
scrolling.
or just,
Yeah.
yeah, or
Hmm.
staring at a screen, like I just, to me, this is a no brainer.
Yeah.
And to your point of what was the light only $25 or what
Yes.
was the one you
Oh, the
mentioned?
acupressure mat is
Yes.
$25. The red light bulb is, I think, $8.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what I talk about in this book. I want everybody to pick up this book and not be like, oh, who's this bougie girl, that has all these fancy cold tubs and everything, which I do talk about cold tubs, but I also give a ton of other options as to how to achieve growing your brown adipose tissue, which is the reason we do the cold immersion.
Mm-hmm.
But I give throughout the book everything in here you can practice that's free, pretty much free. It might be like the $25 here, $8 here, that's a bonus. The supplements, I talk about with my morning gut elixir.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to put all of them in there, but I'm not big into pills or like capsule supplements. I get everything from Nourishing Nutrition or the powders that I put into my morning gut elixir. Um, and it to me, the most important, as you were talking about stuck too, times in the day is bookending. Like it's the beginning of your day and the end of the day. And if you get those two dialed in from your routine in the morning and your routine at night, everything in the middle is seamless, effortless, and goes really super well. The times when I don't have that dialed in is when everything just goes nuts. And it's like I can't keep up. Something's got to give. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not, if I didn't practice my breath work or my meditation, I know that that is regulating my system for the day ahead. And it's just so interesting because I can see it in my wearables. I wear a Whoop and I've got an Aura band. I see it in my CGM. So, like I said, I've done the work for you all, in terms of it really is not woohoo and it is not a waste of time, the practices that I talk about in here. I don't have it all figured out, but I'm like, these are simple methods that you can put into place, getting your feet in the ground while you have your morning gut elixir and looking at the sun. Those are three incredibly powerful habits that you can do in a matter of 10 minutes.
I would have to agree with you on all of that. I mean, just you can feel a difference vibrationally in your mood and your well-being immediately when there's not a whole lot of it's not this like long to-do list, right? I feel
Yeah.
like people often get a little overwhelmed, like thinking like, oh gosh, what do I have to do next? And
Mhm.
it's very, very simple.
Yeah.
Yet you have to become intentional and not allow the day to run you. Like you're going to, like
Mhm.
you said, put your captain hat on and take full initiative. Like, let's
Yeah.
go and let's get this done.
Yeah.
And it won't even take that much of your time. I feel like that's such an excuse for so many people is,
Yeah.
I have kids, I have to, carpool, I have to do this, I have to do that. You don't have 20 minutes in your morning or 20 minutes at the end of the day to carve out for yourself.
I agree with you, and I get that so often
Mhm.
from women in my community, and I understand because listen, raised three kids. My husband was on the road a lot of the time, and yeah, I had babysitters, but I didn't have somebody living with me, and most of the time it was me alone. And I run two businesses. I have Well Inspired Travels and Superwell, and all of the things and I get it, time under tension, but that's why I've created this method because it's supposed to be time efficient, super well stacks.
Mhm.
And like in the morning, people they ask about skincare and oh my gosh, you're glowing skin, which I always say, hey, that is actually you got to glow from the inside out. That's
Yeah.
why I'm big into the gut health because like when everything was falling apart, I looked at my skin fell apart because my gut health was not well at all. Um, but while I, do my skincare routine, which it does have a few layers, I love every layer and it's very intentional from vitamin C to growth factor to hyaluronic acids to all the things. But I specifically take out, my 4 bottles or serums. And while I'm making my morning matcha and I'm feeding my dogs while I have my red light mask on in the morning, it sounds crazy, but this is so fast and efficient. I can do all of those things and I layer my one serum and then I'll do a round of breath work. And it's like, I love the routine. But again, if you look at the time that that takes, it could take 10 minutes and I've knocked out so much. And it's about, like if you have young kids, maybe, you wear your red light mask while you're getting their lunches packed, or maybe, you put on the first layer of the serum while you're, making your coffee or your lunch or whatever it is that you're doing at the same time. And it's, as you said, it's about being intentional and really committing to the whole method and the practices versus victimhood of, no, I just don't have time. And good for you to say that. Well, I've been there. I have done that. I have formed this method over 15 years. And it's about making the choice of, do you really want to feel super well? Like, how good does it feel to be feeling super well? I know it feels damn good.
Hmm.
That's why every morning when I step my feet out of bed, I say, I am striving for it again. I am giving it another shot.
It's so good. You have such a phenomenal attitude. And that's really what it comes down to is it's the story you tell yourself, right? People can sink into that old outdated story that, obviously isn't serving them and they're going to stay stuck. And
Yeah.
so I don't think there's any excuses at all why somebody could not follow these simple steps that you lay out in this book. This is just an incredible blueprint. And I'm a huge sauna junkie. So I love touching on this part. I
Yeah.
call them sauna dips. I go every single day as much as I possibly can. And when I started reading the statistics
Mhm.
just on longevity, on cardiovascular, it
Yeah.
blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
the benefits of sauna,
yeah,
absolutely incredible.
it decreases all cause mortality 40%. Like, what motivation, like, who doesn't want, and here's the thing, because I mean, you can definitely tell you sauna because you've got that beautiful glowing skin, but people always say, well, I don't have the budget for a fancy sauna. I'm sure you can save up or ask for Christmas for a sauna blanket, which to me is equally as effective. And here's another Superwell stack, which I'm sure you've seen me do on Instagram too. I will do my red light therapy mask while I lay in the blanket because your head's out of it. So, I mean, and if I'm in the actual sauna, then I actually take my Skinny Confidential ice roller and I have like my ice mask. So I do a whole lymphatic, cold a facial routine. But yeah, I mean, the benefits of sauna therapy, heat and cold shock therapy is endless. As I said with cold shock, and I don't know if you're a cold girl, but and we have to, be careful with that. I always caution a lot of the clients that I work with because females, have certain cycles, times where it's beneficial and it's not. We're
Hmm.
stressing our system too much, and you don't need much. Like it can be 50 to 56 degrees, 2, 3 minutes max and maybe 2 times a week. And definitely doing it, when you're at your best in terms of your feminine cycle. But I mean, the benefits of growing your brown adipose tissue is endless from mitochondria. I mean, that's your most mitochondrial dense fat tissue. We've got three different kind of fats, visceral, which we don't want, and then beige, and then brown. We're all born with it. It's around our neck and our clavicle, and it decreases as we age. You can take some ice cubes, like when we travel, I always have an ice little bowl that I travel with. You can put the ice cubes back behind your neck and achieve the same benefits in growing your brown fat, just like that.
Wow.
But I always say, with cold tubs too, and I love going back and forth. You always end on the cold. But that's one of the most powerful tools for me to work with individuals on gear shifting from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic nervous system because as I told you, I train with Dr. Susanna Soberg, who's incredible. She's a pioneer in the whole industry. But when you get dropped into that cold tub, no matter what, as many dips as I have done, every single time my body goes into the fight or flight. I see it in my wearables. I see my whole system get jacked up. And it's a matter of within the first 20 to 30 seconds, and I implement my mantra or my breath work. I can dominate that cold tub like nobody's business because I've told my brain, because my brain is trained to say, holy crap, this is fight or flight, get out, run away from the lion, get out of this cold tub, which we want it to do. But it's a matter of how you are in control, the driver of your mind and saying, no, 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 we're good. I am telling my brain, we're calm, we're entering into parasympathetic nervous system. I could stay in that cold tub for 15 to 20 minutes. Now, I wouldn't do that. But when I work with individuals, that is what I have them do so that they can translate that into everyday life. Because once you know how to shift that gear, whether it's a turbulent flight, a stressful meeting, whatever it is, if you know how to shift on your own, you will dominate in everything. And it's the most powerful weapon, as I talk about. There's no
Hmm.
pill that's going to turn on in 2 to 3 minutes like that.
I love this so much. Mental toughness.
Yes.
This is why I love doing hard things because
Yes.
if we can become a master at mental toughness, like to your point, there's life becomes so much more, I guess, easier to navigate. It really does. It's not that tough things don't show up in your existence or awareness, I should say. You
Mhm.
can navigate it with so much more grace and more conviction, like literally taking control. You're in the driver's seat and skillfully mastering the entire process. I love that you brought up Dr. Susanna Soberg. She actually is coming on the podcast.
Good.
Um, yeah, she had to push it out for a couple months because she's writing her third book. But
Yes.
we just spoke a couple weeks ago, so I had no idea that you actually worked with her.
Yes, she is an
She's incredible.
incredible individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, really is. She's kind of like been the right-hand gal with Andrew Huberman and
Hmm.
well studied and very, scientifically based on years and years of research. And I love that she's a female too,
Hmm.
because, we're living in this biohacking bro world. And she just does an amazing job of sharing, the science-backed methods behind it, and also, really the safety of it too, because
Hmm.
it is a very serious protocol. When I work with individuals, like I have to measure their heart rate, I have to measure a lot of things to make sure that they're okay to get, submerged into this cold water. And also, like I said, really understanding the benefits.
Mhm.
Nobody's going to jump into cold water if they don't really know what it's going to do for their body.
Well, right. It's more than just a fad. And I think I love that you bring that up because for the longest time on social media, it's just what's the new quick
Mhm.
trend or fad that everyone's doing. And people are just, obviously becoming copycats of each other without
Yep.
really knowing why am I doing what I'm doing. So, this is definitely so important to know before just jumping into anything
Yeah,
that you
no pun
can.
intended there. And
Yeah.
it's interesting also, right now I'm in a season of life. I lost my oldest brother over the summer and very young
Mm.
age and kind of going through the grieving process um and I've had a lot of curveballs and stress. I mean, beautiful blessings with the book launching and the book tour, but it's been a really turbulent couple of months. And as I always talk about, like safeguarding my burnout insurance, I've actually stopped doing cold dips for 2 months, and that's okay. Like Susanna would probably say, kudos to you, Lauren, because I know, what is going to take me over the edge. My cortisol and my adrenals don't need any more. It needs to be, okay, let's do a little bit more TLC. Let's do more of the sauna, especially sauna before bed. That's really relaxing. I mean, it does stress your system. But then there are times where, okay, I got my armor on and I'm geared up and I'm ready to go and I need this resilience and this training for my body. But it's okay. And that's what going back to the 80/20 principle. Allow yourself to evaluate where you are in your life and honor that. Respect
Mm-hmm.
your body. I always
Mm.
say, like biorhythm is a big word for me. And that's about, like really looking at what your system, your mind, your body, your heart, everything is telling you and honoring that and giving yourself that love and that acceptance of I'm going to get there again. Like it's okay.
So true. I feel like that's so important. And a great point that you made is seasonal, right? There are times where we do need a little bit more TLC in our lives than others. I know when my mom was going through her cancer journey, she'd been diagnosed twice and beat it both times, and this last one
Wow.
on her terms.
Yeah.
I have so much respect for my mom. She's such a warrior, and it is interesting to watch that whole path unfold. And there's times where you got to step up, and like you had mentioned, like you're just ready for it to face it head on. There's other times where you just need to take that little gentle, um, you know, reset and go a little bit deeper in that element. I think the problem becomes is when people become too comfortable in that space of healing, right? Like the whole healing journey could become almost like this looping trauma bonding experience where they're not really getting out of it. They're staying stuck in that. So it's
No,
knowing your body and knowing when to rise.
yeah. And I love that you say that because it really is about, also those moments where you say, okay, I need to be resilient and rise above this. And that's where adversity comes in. And how am I going to pull up and out of this?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, as you talked about too, is like victimhood of we need to hold ourselves accountable sometimes. And it doesn't have to come from, your best friend or your husband or your mom. It really needs to come from within.
Yes.
Like it has to be us saying, what are the choices I'm making each and every day? We don't need babysitters at this stage in life. And how do you want to show up for the world? Do you want to show up just well and I'm okay? Or do you want to show up saying, no, I'm going to be super well? Why the heck not? Like, come on.
One life. I always say, like, squeeze the most out of
Yes,
it. Squeeze the
yes.
most out of it. Why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah,
It's
exactly. It's like I said, Nike, just do it, like so simplistic. It's one word and I trademarked it long ago because it's such a powerful word to me. And it is truly my mantra in life. And I love sharing it with everybody because it's funny when I wear this hat a lot, and especially when I'm traveling, and everybody will come up to me and they'll go, wait, super well. What's super? I want to be super well. I'm like, yes, you do. You want to be super well. It literally falls right out of their mouth. They don't even realize it. I'm like, it's so simplistic.
Oh my gosh. And you are literally the epitome of that. You embody super well, is the
Oh,
best way to describe that. Really, you do. Because I think about a lot of leaders, just in general, right? Whether it's, wellness, health, personal development, uh, so many can talk a really good game. So many can, knock off all the certifications and the schooling. Like that's entry level, in my opinion, right? How many are really showing up every single day, embodying everything that they are preaching? It's
Yeah.
not, unfortunately, it's not as common as it should be. And so that's
Well,
why I just love and adore everything that you stand for, and you are in it all the time. To what you said before, it's not about perfection. It's
yes.
not about that at all, but you are in it every single day showing up.
Yeah.
And that's
And doing the
a big
best you
part of
can,
it.
striving.
Hmm.
Well,
I
I
love
really
that.
appreciate coming from a beautiful woman like you that walks the talk too. And I think that's, really why we're here together, you and I, because it's a noisy space and everybody's saying that they're the next, guru at this or the healer at that. And to me, like this beautiful conversation we're having is allowing vulnerability. And I want to learn from individuals of their hardships, and I want to be able to share. That's what I lead into with this book. I want everybody to pick up this book and be like, oh my gosh, she's not perfect. She actually was a mess for a long time, and she still is sometimes a mess, because that's, I always say I want to be your Superwell BFF. I want to be approachable where we all learn from each other because this world of Instagram and everybody appearing to have it all figured out or have all the answers. I don't have all the answers, but I gain so much knowledge from everybody that I walk and talk to about all of this. Because I've left the door open of saying, I'm vulnerable. I'm taking all the guards down and I'm showing the ugly and the messy, and they're going to do the same. So and it's a beautiful place to stand. I mean, that's the legacy I want to share. And my children all love seeing this book, and they're so cute. They're like, "Mom, someday when we have our own kids, we're gonna be like, this is your super well granny right here." I'm like, yes, that's what I want. I want my legacy to be that because truly, this is a timeless method that is going to serve forever. And it's actually, like we started talking about at the beginning, this goes back to, our grandparents, how you grew up on, good old farm living. This is how I grew up on that foundation, I think is why we're so aligned in our
Yeah.
vision and our philosophies on life is I grew up, going out to the garden with my grandma and picking beets and eating beets out of a mason jar, and
Yes.
learning about what that did,
Yeah.
and I learned how to ride horses there, all the things that was just pure goodness of a lifestyle. And and that's what it's kind of all about is really sharing that with everybody out there and not overcomplicating it because that defeats the whole purpose of life. We already live in this 24/7, sympathetic nervous system. I always say like my my happy place is like the parasympathetic nervous system. If I can shift my body and everything in that state more every day, then I'm definitely feeling more super well.
Yeah, it's the foundation of being like homegrown,
Yeah.
like just that simplicity of really being rooted, like really truly
Yeah.
grounded and rooted in what matters most in life. And I guess that would be really a segue into my next question for you is how has faith been a big part of,
Mm,
even your lifestyle and,
yeah.
overall hitting those high seasons and low seasons of life?
I absolutely love that you're asking this question. It means a lot to me because faith is a big part of who I am, a big part of this whole method. And I share this with, my children. And I was just at an event and we kind of dove into this space and it was so rewarding for me. But, right now, as I said, I'm going through a really tough season in my life, grieving and navigating a lot of blessings too at the same time, but a lot of challenges and a lot of curveballs all at once. And I always say, I really lean into the Lord in the times where I like to look at the analogy of the ocean waves. When things are really smooth, that's usually when people are like, okay, thanks God, like I'm moving on with my good old time here and life is good. But that's actually where I pour into him most. And I just praise him. On all my walks, on my moments out in quiet time, in silence, I praise him and I just give him so much appreciation and gratitude for these moments because I know it's like a battery pack. At that time, I'm like, okay, here we go, God. Like we're getting charged up because I know life always throws its curveballs. And then I'm prepared, and I don't just lean into Him when I'm like, Lord, get me through this tough time. And faith has been such just a big part of my journey in life and trusting also. I just had this conversation with my 23-year-old son. He's going through a really rough time with professional like choices and career choices and he goes to church every Sunday, which is so amazing. And I said, honey, I said, you don't have to have it all figured out. I said, there is such peace and release of anxiety and fear when you give it all to God because He already knows our fate. He already knows what you're going to be doing when you're 50 years old. He already knows everything. He has this beautiful plan in place. So hang up your fear and anxiety and let the Lord help you navigate this space. Give your energy back to yourself and just trusting that He already knows and He's leading the way. So those are just kind of like really, the core to who I am. And the Lord has been so good to me. And I just, give Him so much gratitude for continual blessings and showing me the way of what is next. And so I love that you asked that. And I think whatever form of, higher power you believe in, really kind of sharing those same thoughts and philosophies for whomever that is that you believe in, because this world is constant anxiety and comparison and victimhood and imposter syndrome, all of it. And if you don't have that beautiful faith in place, then you're kind of navigating life in a blind sense. I really think.
Mm, amen. Sisters in Christ. I love
Yes.
it. And echo everything you just said, in so many ways. Faith is everything. And
Yes.
especially, when you think of navigating really tough seasons too. And I love that you had told your son about really trusting in him. And to me, it's the art of surrender. Like,
Yeah.
how deep can we really surrender and trust to know that God has the perfect plan in store, even through some of the most gut wrenching, horrific moments in our lives? I'm going through a season, coming out of a season that I experienced as well the past, few
Yeah.
months, and in ways I never thought would happen. Like,
Yeah.
never thought. I could never have ever in my wildest dreams had thought this.
Hmm.
And in that moment, I kept thinking, like, God, why am I so devastated? I can be devastated for the loss of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
However, you're watching and seeing things that I wasn't seeing. And so
Mhm.
it's like the fog lifts, is the
Yeah.
best way I can describe it.
Yes. I
And when it
love that.
does and it clears the way, you
Mhm.
can dance in the storm. You really
Yes.
can. And it sounds, counter, but really you are. You're dancing in the storm going, okay, I'm going to praise you. Well, there's a
Yes.
song, by the way,
Yes.
that says
Yes.
just that.
Yes. Yes.
And it
I
doesn't life become so much more just enriching and beautiful in all ways when you can literally lean into that discomfort and dance in the storm?
I love God, that's so beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to carry that with me. And you're exactly right. It's that beautiful, sweet surrender
Mm,
of allowing that release. And that's kind of like you said, what I was telling Jack, my son, about I mean, you can really, through the most, turbulent times, somewhat dance, knowing you're trusting that
yeah.
this will too pass,
Mm,
and as I talked about with my mom, when I was so broken back at that time when she had breast cancer, and she pulled me aside and reassured me of exactly what you're saying. Surrender, realize you're in this place right now, but you're gonna pull up and out of it. And there is going to be a beautiful blessing and reward. I don't know what that is right now, but we're trusting that the Lord is going to show us. And I now know with all my heart that that's what this is. And
yes.
that's why I'm so passionate about sharing because I feel like it's God saying to me, tap, 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 Lauren, you have this great education and you have this story. Now go share it because you're helping everybody that wants to listen along the way just because you're opening up to that space of it and that's the beautiful gift in all of this. And I mean just hearing from the women in my community and people that pick up this book. And when I go and do these events, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that's worth all the money in the world. Just to hear the little things that, have made a difference for them. And it's, yeah, one of the greatest gifts in this whole process.
And that's what we're here for, to love, serve, and support one another and help
Yes,
each other grow and thrive into the greatest possible beings we can be in this one life that we get to experience.
that's right. That's
So thank you for everything. Thank you for your gifts. Thank you for your wisdom, your insights, all of it. I am just blown away. And I'm going to have more information on Lauren's Superwell, your ultimate blueprint to wellness and well being. All of it's going to be in the show notes. So you can order your copy today. You're such a gem. So thank you so
Oh,
much for sharing
thanks.
all of it and so vulnerably too. Before we hit our super round, by the way, I have a
Yeah,
speed round that I
I love
finish
it.
with. It's Superwell speed round.
Superwell speed round. This is so fun.
It's a lot
And
of
you
fun.
realize you're going to be on my podcast too, so I'll get you back, Chrissy.
That's why it was nice. I know we talked
Yeah.
about that. So I'm
Oh,
like, okay,
I can't
don't be
imagine.
too bad here. Are you ready, Lauren?
I'm ready.
All
Geared up.
right, here we go. Super well in one word or sentence. What does it mean to you?
That you are firing on all cylinders of feeling your most optimal self. And it has to do with the interconnectedness of 8 pillars, which are optimal sleep, well aging, mindfulness, balance flow, nourishing nutrition, emotional wellness, nature connection, and soulful connection.
Woo! Love that.
A plus, right?
So good. All right, your most underrated daily habit that keeps you regulated.
Ooh. Morning gut elixir. And that is regulated too, also keeps you regular flowing, which is very important too.
Your favorite cheat food you fully enjoy without guilt.
Ooh. Dark chocolate and tequila.
That's a good combo.
Yes.
I like that. One wellness trend you believe is doing more harm than good.
Trying to keep up with the biohacking bros and going too hard at any biohacking fad and trend out there. And I could go on a rant on that, especially
We're,
cold tubs too.
we're going to have to hear that rant sometime here soon.
Yeah.
All right. The first sign your body gives you when you're out of alignment.
We already touched on this optimal sleep, sleep 100%. When I start looking at my wearables and I feel it in my body, even the inflammation, I can instantly start to feel it.
Same. Oh my gosh, it's so apparent.
Hmm.
Something people would be surprised to know about you.
Well, since I share it all, I'm like, well, I don't have super well eyes, and I'm triple jointed.
Triple jointed. Oh my gosh.
Yes. I can do some, really crazy thing. I won't even, but I can take my thumbs and turn them back, and then
Oh
I can
my
turn my
God.
hand like and then I can turn my arm
Wow.
all the way, flip it all the way around.
You're like
Yes,
Gumby.
I am, but not so super well eyes. Like I have Coke bottle glasses, and I always say I go from Barbie to nerd in like zero point 0.2 seconds. Most of the time, I'm in nerd mode.
I love it. Real quick before I continue, we only have four more. What is a great way to fix floaters? I just started getting eye floaters this year for the first time.
Yeah, and they say that that is really stress induced.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I would say probably doing any practices that can calm your
Yeah,
system, but in terms of an actual like eye training, I'd have to ask my husband because he's dealt with so many ocular issues with his concussion. And he deals with floaters. But my take would be to just doing a breath work or something
I think
because
you're right. Yeah. No,
mm-hmm.
that's so true. That's what I was feeling too. So
Yeah,
deepening my
yeah,
practice.
yes,
All right. Thank you for that. Your
yes.
go-to ritual when you land in a new place.
It would be getting my eyes to whatever sun it is at that time. So I'm setting, my circadian rhythm to wherever I am with the time change will be number one. Getting my feet, in the ground, all of that really just helps rebalance that immediately for me. And then always making sure that I have fresh squeezed lemon juice and apple cider vinegar
Ooh, good one.
for
Yeah.
my morning gut elixir. Like I always, and it's really so easy as an ask to room service or going to a CVS or a Trader Joe's or something and having that. And I always travel with my Zen basil seeds, so that I have all that, everything in place.
I did mark that down on my list, sun basil seeds to look into.
Yes. Oh
Thank you
my
for
gosh.
that. I can't wait to
I
try
mean,
them.
magic seeds. Yes. And let
So
them get to that
exciting.
gelatinous state. Yes. Lots to share on that.
One belief you had to unlearn on your journey.
Ooh, that I am not in control.
So
Yeah.
good. So when everything feels chaotic, what do you come back to first?
Breath work, 100%. So easy, so powerful. It changes, as I talked about gear shifts, it changes everything instantly for me. And it's funny because I don't even know my kids will hear me in the kitchen if I'm dealing with something that's stressful, as you said, like that just is chaotic. How do you shift? They will hear my breath and I start doing my big inhale
Mm.
and exhale, and I don't even realize I'm doing it, but they hear it and they're like, Mom, you're doing it again. And I'm like, well, that's keeping me sane. So,
What a great habit to acquire, though.
yeah,
I mean, just you don't even, it's automatic for you now.
it is. It is. It's
Incredible.
just how my brain instantly recovers and rebounds. And I've trained it that way,
Yeah.
which everybody can learn that.
That's the whole point of all
Yeah.
this. You put your captain hat on and
Yeah.
you have created a super well plan for yourself. No
Yes.
pun
Yeah.
intended, but it's just so good. All
Yeah.
right, last one. If you had 1 minute to offer advice to someone ready to shift their life today, what would you say?
I would say start with the first thing. Why the heck not? And life is so beautiful and so full. And why not, put practices into place that will help you go from I'm just okay or getting by to not now from this moment forward choosing to strive for super well every day. It's a matter of a choice. And these are, practices you put into place that really move the needle
Mm,
versus inconsistency and not understanding the beautiful rhythms that lie within you to be living your most optimal best self. Again, why the heck not? Like,
mm,
as you said, soak up every moment in life. And when the Lord takes me out, I'm like, I want to be feeling my most super well version. Like I want to run with my grandchildren. I want to be doing all the things that I can to soak up as much of this glorious life that He has given me. And it's a safeguard into, you practice these things and you truly will be, enjoying feeling your most super well self every day, whatever that version of you looks like.
so good. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
Thank
you. You are
you.
such a gift. You are such a gift
Oh,
to this world. Thank you
well,
so much
you
for showing up.
oh,
Truly.
you are too. And I just love talking with you. I'm like, oh my gosh, we need so much more of this. And you are just such a gift and a blessing. And you are so good at asking all these questions. I need to take pointers and tips from you on all of it. And I just want more of you in my life. So this is to be continued.
Done and done. I would be honored.
I'm
So
excited for you and what a blessing you are to me and to the world. So
thank you,
let's go
Lauren.
get them, girl,
Let's go.
2026.
I'm ready. I'm ready to live my best life yet moving forward.
Yeah.
It's what it's about.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Mwah.